cattywampus.
It's like a D&D monster.
You say that a lot.
I do with that word, cattywampus.
I mean, you've at least said it probably 10 or more times in my lifetime.
With that exact word?
Cattywampus.
Cattywampus.
Yeah. What is that? Where did you get that?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's something my parents said, probably.
You've said it enough for me to remember it. That and rotund.
Yeah, here you go. It's an actual word. It's got a Wikipedia page.
Sounds like a Southern word.
It says... It doesn't give me the definition. What the hell?
I feel like it's just...
It's not how I expected it to be spelled.
It's a cattywampus. Is it wampus or wampus?
Wampus, like wobberjack kind of. It says kitty askew, awry, kitty corner.
Kitty corner. What the fuck? It's not what I expected.
Okay, so that's gonna give me all the weird words. Now we got the next one. Someone says, "What is a ninny hammer?"
Oh, excuse me.
What is a bum fuzzle?
Well,
what is a throttle bottom? Oh, I feel like I'm getting some words I should not know.
I'm not pointing at you, YouTube. Pointing at my cat.
Oh, here you go. This was my favorite that I just found. What is a slubbergeon?
You almost said
slubbergeon.
Slubber. Sorry.
I feel like I'm like offending people. This means a dirty rascal.
These are not things I've heard, and I hope that you never adopt. Unless, you're RPing some character that would be using them.
Yeah, I'm curious. These got to be like old slang or something. I don't know.
I have not a single clue.
No clue.
What is this? Where are my notes?
But how you feeling?
I still have I'm not sick. It's just like head pressure from like I wake up, I feel great. My sleep schedule's been super normal lately.
Whoa.
Well, when I said I was taking a nap, I went to bed and did not wake up until like 3 or 4 a.m.
That's a nap.
I mean,
kind of.
No, this is a full ass sleep, but I woke up and felt great.
That's good.
And I just, had my whole day. And then the next day came around, which is today, and I had slept from today. I don't know, I think it was like, I can't even remember. It was like 10 until 6 a.m. or something again, which is good. So I've been up since then.
Average.
But over the day, I slowly accumulate like a little bit of head pressure, and it's either from sitting on my butt all day.
And you don't go outside, right? So there's no like pollen. I guess it might be seeping.
It gets in somewhere, man. There's we don't have perfect air filtration yet in the world, so my windows are never open. They're not allowed to be. I would love to do it for my cats. Unfortunately, they would be covered in pollen.
You'd die. Yeah.
I would die.
Yeah.
Also, anybody who's allergic to cats, if you ever come into my place, Ryujin, one of my friends, there's so much cat fur floating around in here, you would be fucked.
Well, I even told people I used to work at a hospital, and I used to tell them upon meeting them if you are allergic to it. Well, because it's I'm covered. I'm wearing maroon scrubs. I have a white cat. And I'm covered in fur, and I always tell you, if you're allergic to cats, you need to tell me now, so you're gonna die, because it's just he's on me constantly. He's in my lungs. He's in my body.
In my lungs. I used to see your clothes. I'm like, do you not like roll it? And it's like I can't anymore. It's just everywhere. Yeah, it's in my dryer. I've got some heavy duty dryer sheets that work a bit, but that filter in it, you pull it out, you have to do it like twice during a wash.
Full. Yeah.
Otherwise, it is just chopped when you're screwed.
And I'd take the poor little boy to the vet. He's got 4 separate medications right now to take. He's just loaded up, man.
He's not old, right?
He's getting them. The vet actually called him old last time. Today or yesterday.
Watch your tongue. What did we ban you for?
I felt kind of bad, but he lost a lot of weight. So in the last 3 months, he went from 11 pounds to 9 pounds. Because he's been throwing up nonstop recently. So he's not getting his food in. So they gave him like some probiotic stuff so he can beef himself up and like pouring that on his food.
I need to get them checked because I think they're on weight. They don't seem too skinny.
They look pretty good.
They're always hungry. It's about to be the birthday, April. They're both born in April. Or same day, I guess.
You gonna get them anything?
I don't know. We'll see.
If they're
crazy. Good enough. There's catnip hidden all around this place, man. But thank you for the patience. Ryan released a very fun episode last week about
notes.
We've been talking about putting out forever, and I think like always in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I'm in that episode, if I'm there.
Yeah, because I just happened to find my old notes, and I was like, I don't know. The more I thought, I was like, I don't know how much we can really talk about this. So I'll just bust it out, and I think it would be a good segue for when I finally finish. I've been writing this concept to do like a DM binder one for a while, so it'd be a good segue to hop on over to that. So if you're curious about how to write some good notes, go check out that shorter episode. And I apologize, I didn't mention that episode that we were gonna have our good friend Kenneth on this episode, but he is still out of town. I did not realize the dates that he'd be out of town, so he is unfortunately not going to be on this episode.
He's in another state,
but he's here in spirit.
Has he read it?
He's read parts of it. Last time we talked, he hadn't finished it.
Honestly, if gotten this book, which by the way, he's Ryan.
Hey, he's Braxton.
Today we're going to be talking about Call of the Netherdeep. It will be spoiler free, and you'll see it in the little doobly-doo, the timeline below, how long it's spoiler free for. So you're safe for right now. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's interesting because the interesting thing about this, and I know it just said it's interesting, so of course it's going to be interesting, is that this is one of the few adventures they've released. Now, I say they. This is a WotC sanctioned product, but it's really not written by WotC. It's more like they helped. Yeah. They gave them money or something.
They even had some interviews on YouTube, and you watch, and it's the big dudes interviewing them. It's like they know nothing about it. Like, what is the Netherdeep? Like, I can't tell you about that.
You're right. But this is most of the time they usually release a couple player stuff inside of it. Like Strahd has a couple player things in it. There's usually at least one or two. This nothing.
Not a single thing.
Not a single player thing. So the spoiler free section is definitely a little shorter than normal. I guess it'd just be, would you recommend a player if you know a DM's gonna play this adventure, would you recommend them to go play it with them?
You could look at the items though. I mean, say like, hey, like the stuff that's offered in there, the builds and whatnot. Just don't read too much in the description.
A 60-page book or a $60 book for that. But
I mean, there's a chunk. It's like it was page 212.
There's a good bit. Yeah, there's a good bit.
Okay, it's like 5 pages of items. So yeah, I don't know. You'll see. But it's got some really cool stuff in it. There's always a moment when I'm reading these where I'm not able to focus on it. I'm going through, and then a part where it grabs me, and the part
sucks you in, yeah.
The part where this one grabbed me was harder than most other books that I did before. But I mean, given the subject matter of it, it kind of reads like Bloodborne. At a very not exactly like that, but it's
interesting.
There's a portion where it turns, and you're just
definitely it has a little twisty twist. Reminds me a little bit of Rime of the Frostmaiden in that way.
Yeah, but Rime of the Frostmaiden is like way at the end.
And it's definitely really feel like two separate adventures. Well, this one is very definitely connected. Yeah, thematically at the very least.
Yes.
So I think the first thing that to talk about before we dive deeper into it is first we need to cover if we recommend players to play in this adventure, and also I think before we even talk about that, so this is obviously a Critical Role based book. Yeah. It takes place in the lands of Exandria. There's places in here that are directly played in Critical Role. So I think the big elephant in the room is, do you need to know anything about Critical Role to play in this?
No, not at all.
No, I agree. Especially players. I'd say you don't need to know anything about this.
They do a really good job of that. There's some really big names, even the campaign that's doing right now. Marquette, he's subject of a lot of discussion right now, is a location within this, or at least the world of Exandria where this is set. So it's the same place. But if you had never heard of Critical Role and you played this, you would never be like, oh, well, I played this, now I'm going to check out Critical Role. You wouldn't think that because there's not a single thing there. I also don't
think it hampers your enjoyment if you have watched Critical Role. I don't think it's like, this is completely different.
I've not watched a single minute of Critical Role outside of like a clip that's maybe showed up.
And you still, I don't know yet, but I assume you at least enjoyed yourself to a point.
I enjoy myself to a point. There's some parts of it where I was like...
But I think so. I've watched the entire first campaign, about half of campaign 2, and like 2 episodes of campaign 3. So I don't think this either. You don't think you have to know anything about it. I don't think you have to know a lot about it, Critical Role to enjoy this, because by knowing a medium amount about Critical Role, it doesn't hamper my experience going, hey, this is from that part of that game. How cool, they're going to the big scary part, or the big city. I recognize this. It's kind of a cool, like, oh, fun, I can play in that. But the setting books already exist for a lot of this stuff anyway. So it's
not like my Zelda 5e campaign where the DM asks you if you've played Zelda. If you're wanting to join, you say no. They're like, oh, I don't know if this will work out. I'm sorry. Because every mechanic in that is very Zelda based, and it slows it down if you don't know. It's not like that at all.
It'd be like playing like the Dark Souls or Bloodborne board games, which you don't have to, but there's a lot of overlap. And I'm sure if someone who's played it would enjoy it a lot more.
Absolutely. So that's a good thing to state before. Every time I had done any sort of research, any post, somebody would always preface that and say, I have or have not, or do not enjoy Critical Role, either of those set of qualifiers.
I think it applies more to, we can talk about this more when we get to the DM section. I think it applies more to DMs a little bit, because for someone like me who doesn't usually like running straight adventures, I would say this adventure's a little harder to pull things out of and put into my own world. There's a lot of things you definitely could, but the overall story and theme is pretty tied into the Critical Role world. Yeah, but you can easily rewrite and change a couple things. Yeah, it's in your spot.
Well, there's a common theme and structuring of the main quote unquote villain of this, where it's kind of a redemption. It's sort of arc there.
Yeah.
And it's something that you see a lot. I just watched today all of Ranking of Kings.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's why I woke up. It's good. Like if you're wanting something that breaks the mold, especially with animation,
to watch it, yeah.
I think you would like it, but it is nothing like it's not going to tickle your writing fancy. There's some good stuff there, but there's big plot holes.
And is it fully done, or is it like a second season coming?
It is. It's kind of like Hunter. Have you watched Hunter x Hunter?
A little bit of it.
It's basically a self-contained story. You won't be wanting for more when it's done unless you really enjoy it, and there's no like cliffhanger. It's a fun kind of not really coming of age story. It's similar to this. There's a character in it that is like beyond redemption, and at the end they may or may not get redeemed. It's a big point of it, especially with the last few episodes, and this kind of becomes like that. So I feel like you could you make your own villain and just
I think it would take a little bit more extra writing. But I think it's possible for sure. Okay, so before we get as much as I want to keep talking about it, do you recommend this to a player?
To buy it or to play?
To play in someone's adventure. If a DM that you know is running this adventure, and
I'm going to say,
you want to join? If
you have never played this is going to be 2 recommendations. If you've never played D&D before and you're open for a little bit of a challenge and you see there's a DM doing this, no questions asked, get in there as long as the group's cool.
Yes, yeah.
Not a single question.
Yeah, I think I definitely recommend it. I think it'd be a lot of fun to play in this, but I think the DM has to have their chops about them and has to be ready to, because there's a lot going on in this adventure and it can be tough, I think, as a DM to... If it's a novice DM, I would not recommend this if it's a novice DM.
It's a performance.
Yes.
For sure.
I mean, if you've watched Critical Role, even if you haven't, you probably know that they're professional voice actors and actors. This reads like something that I could see them playing. I could see them going into and like delving deep into the different factions and plots and stuff.
It literally felt like a JRPG or an anime.
It's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different factions and things you can get a part of. So I definitely think it would be enjoyable if it's done well.
Yeah. So interview the DM in question, say, how many years of experience do you have?
How excited are you for this?
But if you trust this DM and you've done your little bit of research and then they say, oh, I'm planning on doing Call of the Netherdeep, I personally would want this to be my first experience with D&D.
It would be a fun first experience.
Yeah, I haven't read as much as Ryan has for books that have been released or campaigns and whatnot. So my recommendation with that statement isn't as strong, I would say. But from what I've played and like the 6 years I've played with Ryan and the couple of campaigns I've done, like this would leave a lasting impression on me.
I think this is the best, and I'm saying it now, the best 5e WotC adventure I've read. And because this is a WotC Sane project, I can say that. I love Curse of Strahd, but I think this is better.
I don't know what it is. If
the right,
we need to explore that thought.
We could. I think the writing is better. The themes, I think I like the themes of Strahd maybe better. I don't know. But I like the world and the ideas and the organization and the heart that's put into this. I told Braxton earlier, and I tweeted at Dungeon Crawl Pod on Twitter that this is the first D&D 5e adventure by WotC that I've read that reads the way I like to run my games, and that's
so. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that too. Is it the layout, the structuring? What is it?
I don't know. I think it's the organization definitely has something to do with it.
Because it was maybe it's just the form factor in which I was reading it like online. Maybe it wasn't as great for me, but it was a lot to keep track of for me. I don't think it was organized poorly, but it's hefty to go through.
Braxton hasn't seen my OneNote file. This is the different moving parts I have in there. I think similar-ish to this.
So it is how it's read. What you like.
Yeah, I think that and the amount of options that are presented to the players and the amount of ways that the book actually explains to the DM how those options can work out. Because it's so frustrating whenever you read a adventure, and I can't remember what maybe Rime of the Frostbane is a good example of this, where it's pretty open-ended. There's a lot of everything that the players can do, but it's still a very linear experience.
Yeah, I was going to stop you. It is definitely super linear.
But there's still so many different, like, if this happens, then this happens, or if it's like a tree. If the players can jump off here, while Rime of the Frostbane, it's pretty. No matter how far you go off, you come back to the same line. While here, you jump off, and maybe I don't want to spoil anything. Maybe this happens, and so you never get back to this line. Now you've jumped into like a whole new timeline or something, and then something changes there and you hop back. And I like that because I like they give some agency to the players instead of just feeling like, okay, the story's going to happen regardless of us doing anything or not.
It's really similar to how video games do it, since in video games is the limitation of the production itself, and they can't make infinite different options because they would have to create those and have people to work on it. Sure. When you do one of those branching paths, it's still the same campaign. Like it's not going to be, like Elden Ring where everybody has wildly different starts, so much so that it seems like a different game. But the emotion and how people speak to you and the repercussions are absolutely felt, even if it's going to be the same path.
Consequences, because I love consequences. I think this is a good example of that. Like which faction you align with gets you different quests, something you in a different direction, and then because you align with that faction, these guys aren't going to like you now, and maybe they're in charge of where you need to go, and so now it can change the dynamic of stuff. The
factions can even change the ending depending on how much you align with what the faction wants. Because to me, when I got to the ending, I'm not spoiling it yet either. I was like, there's an obvious choice what I want to do. Some are more difficult because you have to trigger certain things, but then I went, wait a minute. Some of the goals of the factions were just like, nah, get in there, get out. We want this thing. And, if you're aligned with a certain faction, you might just go with that and say, screw it. I don't want to change things. I'm just gonna kill the BBEG and we're done. It's really interesting. So I feel like major talking points in this, if any of these interest you, are going to be rival party. Yes, that is in here.
Yeah, if you like rivals, that's definitely important. That's
another portion where the DM's gonna have to really step up if they want to make these either likable or detestable characters. The factions Ryan's mentioned, as well as the portrayal of the characters near the ends. Emotions are super important. I felt at a point in the story.
Would you say it's more RP or combat heavy, or pretty even?
I think it's pretty even. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, some sections are definitely more RP, some sections are definitely more combat. But I think if I had to count it, probably evens out.
It's not 50-50 the whole time, mind you.
Yes, definitely.
It does fluctuate, like even more so where it's like 100% RP. And it's fun. I find it really interesting. Yes. But now that you point that out, I think it is a really, really good marriage of that, because the stat blocks in this game for you DMs are really impressive. There's some really cool monsters that aren't just like slam and
it's not just standard
tail
stuff.
Whip. Yeah,
but they got some reactions in there.
There's some things in there that scare me, but not super terrible. Petrification's always scary.
Yes.
Oh my word. I think. Are we go ahead and just doing a recommendation right off the start for DMs?
Yeah, I guess so players, I guess is your time to check out.
Yeah.
If you like it, don't buy it, but find a DM friend and maybe help them buy it if you want them to run it for you. But hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, follow us on stuff, all down below. So DMs, now all the players are gone. Let's talk.
Yeah.
So, do we recommend this to DMs?
I feel like we're going to have the same caveats, but 100%. Yes. Yeah.
I'd say without a doubt. I think even if you don't run this, there's a lot you can still get out of this book.
Yeah, there's some wonderful magic items. There are some amazing monsters, albeit of a specific genre and location, like the Abyss.
A lot of So I guess DMs, if you're not comfortable running underwater combat, get comfortable, because you're going to need to be. If you don't like underwater stuff, then this is definitely not the adventure for you.
There are some caveats for the ceilings. Yeah. And you could, for the sake of it, ignore verticality
at a certain point. So once you get to the final area, which is all underwater, to be in there, the players have to be able to survive underwater regardless. So at a certain point, you could start ignoring it.
It's weird. There's specifically with the corruption.
Yeah, the corruption.
Like I have a little bit of an issue with that. But
the ruidium.
I was reading that as like rudium for a while, and I saw the first eye, and I got really confused.
For some reason, whenever there's like a mineral name, like a fantasy mineral name, it always makes me laugh. It always sounds so silly.
Yeah,
it's not as bad as unobtainium, of course.
Cool. Unobtainium. Oh my god! Wait, what is that from?
Avatar.
Oh
yeah, Blue People Avatar.
Yeah. So, that was a little tongue in cheek. I wholeheartable recommend this if you're somebody who's not afraid of emotion. And getting characters,
doing some. You have to straight up acting, but D&D already is pretty RP heavy. But if you're picking this up, it definitely needs to be a little more ready for some good acting skills.
Yeah. So I've got a friend who runs my Pathfinder games, and he's really good at getting into characters, but he hasn't ventured out into a lot of RP sessions or campaigns. So for a person like my friend, I wouldn't recommend running this like right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of person who it just jumps in. You guys are like, combat. Okay, now let's go back to town. Very much how Pathfinder runs stuff. It might be a bit abrasive. This is like to its core, how it's written is meant for 5e. Like I think it takes its strengths.
And it feels, I mean, I said this already, it feels like if you don't like Critical Role, it's not a negative, but it feels like a Critical Role experience in a way because so I think the reason why I like the way it feels is because the reason why I got into D&D was because of watching Critical Role. I was like, I want to do something similar to what they're doing here. Obviously, very different experiences, but just my inspiration was watching that. I want to write like that idea, like having the marriage between the combat and stuff. So I think they did a really good job of making that if you like Critical Role, you'd probably be interested in this, which is fascinating to me that now, obviously, I don't know how much Matthew Mercer had his hand in this, but the authors, the writers itself were Mackenzie DeArmas, Latia Jacques, Cassandra Kaw, and Sadie Lowry. They did an incredible job working on this. Matthew Mercer and Chris Perkins, the lovely Chris Perkins, led the development, and then James Hayek and Hannah Rose also worked on it. That's all it says for them. They also worked on it. But James Hayek, he used to do the D&D Beyond articles.
Yeah.
Then he left to work with Critical Role.
There was a point I texted you. I was like, this reads both in theme like and like whatever, but it felt very similar to the world that you've written and how the structure of it is. So to give more credence to what he said about wanting to write a campaign like this. And
I mean, I think the writing already feels leagues better than any other D&D book.
I didn't feel that
I've read.
Because there wasn't a lot of similar writing. I didn't feel that until the Netherdeep.
Well, I think I don't know how much of the box text you like really got into, but the box text I feel like was so much more flavorful and interesting than anything I read from WotC in the last year or two.
I read the majority of it. The beginning felt a little weak to me, and it was just kind of like, hey, let's get this and let's go here and do that. But
nothing grabbed me like that in Rime of the Frostmaiden. Nothing was like, I loved this box text. I did like some of the box text in the final dungeon of Frostmaiden. There was some cool, creepy stuff there, but I don't know. A lot of stuff in here I thought was really nice.
I have a pretty big trend of just liking games and media that blow out of proportion in the end. Like in Bloodborne, cosmic horror shit just randomly coming out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, if the world's ending, and I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever. The writing's awesome. It's like, no, Raxon, you just like the shock factor.
How it's going, yeah.
So that happened to me here, and it happened with Rime of the Frostmaiden as well. So
that's true.
Man, my cats are having a lot of fun with the window. They're attacking
something at the window.
Well, usually it's not light outside when we record this, so that's a big portion of it.
So let's talk about something that I think is also important before we dive into the actual content. What do you think? We mentioned this before. There are a rivals group that followed you everywhere.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the rivals?
So I was reading their descriptions, and there's a couple of them that I really love. I like the interactions they have with each other. I think they don't dive into their background too much. They just say, here are these people.
Yep.
You run them how you want. I do feel their motivations are strange sometimes. It's like, why are they even doing these things?
And why are they together sometimes?
Yeah, when we're obviously getting all of the boons from people, we're being led, we're the fan favorites most of the time. You can change it if you want. But it's like, I didn't feel just within the writing of this campaign itself that I could see in my mind what they were doing and how they felt justified in pretty obviously causing a big hindrance to just solving this thing.
Well, it's interesting. So there's 3 states the rivals can be in. There's the we're friendly, we're going to help you, which means the DM might have a lot more work of them actually being a DMP NPC party coming along with them everywhere and adding to the combat.
And it really would adjust the combat.
Yes. And bogging it down with a lot more people. 2, making them indifferent. And then 3, having them not like each other at all, be violent.
Imagine playing Pokemon and you've got several stages where they're scripted to show up and have a battle with you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like that. It's very, very much like that.
Yeah. There's things I like about the rivals. I think if they were done well, like the RP is done really well, it can be really cool. I don't think I would ever make them friendly enough that they're always with the party. Like, hey, I trust what you're doing. I'll get to where you're at, and maybe I'll help you clear out the dungeon. And you can go through after us or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you want to take a nap? Sure, we'll make sure you guys are safe. Something like those. Our audio listeners, we have a cat in the middle of the camera, just sniffing it, getting a nice look.
Oh my word!
I think it's a very delicate act to use these rivals, because you want to provoke. You want to have that kind of song and dance game with your party, but you don't want to provoke them enough to where they're just pissed off and want to kill you. They could. What's stopping them from just killing the rivals right away?
There's a couple points where the writers are like, oh, they won't resort to killing and will only knock you unconscious.
The players could.
Yes,
the players would. If you piss them off, and I'm like, I don't want this fucking guy still here.
First, I'm going to separate these rivals in this from the concept of rivals.
Okay.
I think the concept of rivals and how they present it, I love it.
Yes.
Come here. There you go. I love the concept of it. I think it's a lot of fun to have another group that is affecting the world, and it will immediately make your players feel...
Makes it feel bigger.
It makes it feel bigger, 100%. And then I want to go to the characters themselves, and I felt it was like a nice little diverse group of adventurers that I could honestly imagine another group being.
I like their writing, and how they change as the game goes on, and like how they're influenced by different events and things.
It's analogous to the theme of everything in this. Like,
change and redemption and bad things happening.
I did think, and this is getting a little bit into who they are and what they are, the like two of them being smitten with the drow. Yes. I was like, is that necessary? It's not a big plot, but I found it funny. I found it cute. It was interesting. And like one of them has a really, and I guess we're into like actual spoilers here.
Yeah, DM stuff.
Was a bugbear, I believe. Is that what he was?
Yeah, I think so.
The human. And humans are an exotic race in this, or at least not as commonplace. There's a really, really big focus on diversity here, which is a lot of fun. And I didn't think they were just like, okay, we need rivals. Let's yeet them in there and just call it a day. Like there's some thought put behind it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like Maggie. Maggie's really cool.
Maggie's super cool. The description
I love the goblin guy, Durnot. Is that his name?
My god, which is
Dermot.
He's the second one, right?
Yes,
that's
he's
listed.
So cute.
I literally. Oh god, where's my note on that? Okay, my last note, like right after I finished, just fucking love this boy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he seems like a friend, not a rival. He seems like a guy you want to hang out with.
Nah, this dude would never. I mean, if you're just obviously like chaotic or evil, he'll probably start messing with you.
Yeah, but I could see this. I mean, the corruption of the world maybe changing him.
His deepest need, one he even doesn't know he has, is to make a friend who will help him realize what he wants for himself. I was like, this little goblin dude, paladin, he puts on the armor to protect his friends. Like, I don't know how to fucking fight, but if we're gonna do this, all right, I'll worship some gods. And the art's great too.
Yes. So second thing, before we get into it, Ruidium. What's your opinion on the Ruidium corruption? Which we don't really need to get into why it's there, but it's basically this moon that's not really a moon.
There it is. I found it. Okay.
Yeah. It's right above those guys.
So I think it's going to be important to
corruption and stuff happening from it.
I think it's going to be important to equip those listening with what it does. It's not a massive description, so feel free to.
The specific corruption part.
What happens when you interact and how it happens.
So it says when a creature is at risk of becoming corrupted, which it can become corrupted a few different ways. There's items, there's creatures, there's areas in the world. It must make a charisma save. The save DC varies based on the Ruidium's virulence. On a failed saving throw, they gain 1 level of exhaustion and become corrupted if it isn't already. From that point on, the creature takes 1d10 psychic damage whenever its level of exhaustion increases or decreases by 1 until it's no longer corrupted. And it says, see ending corruption below. And there's a couple of different ways it can manifest, how it can look.
Yes.
But to me, the important part here is the ending the corruption. And it can also change your personality. And so that's why I said the goblin guy could be affected by the corruption. So to end the corruption, this is very important. Only a wish spell or divine intervention can cure a creature's Ruidium corruption. Simply removing all levels of exhaustion from the creature cannot. Ruidium and the effects of the corruption vanish from the world if you finish the campaign and he's redeemed. Basically, the BBEG, something happens at the end. So
there's a lot of there's a section where there's a decent amount of travel where exhaustion can happen, and every time your exhaustion changes, this is affecting you, and you'll take the damage. And anytime you're touching it itself, it'll happen. There's a point in this campaign where you literally have to be equipped
to do something,
to do things with this or touching or
be corrupted at some point.
The risk and maybe I would have to run this or experience it, the risk of dying from exhaustion in this campaign is super prevalent.
Yes.
It's going to happen.
It's definitely something to be aware of with this corruption involved. Now, the area that Braxton's talking about is at the very end.
Yes.
And so once you access this area, there's not much left.
Yeah.
And
at that point in that area, you're touching doors and it's happening.
Right. But there's also lots of other items that you can find before you even get here. So one of your players might be corrupted much earlier on than others.
I mean, this is the mythical, magical, or the people want in the world or fighting wars over, So it's around. Now that I'm processing it a bit more and understanding it happens when your exhaustion changes or you touch it for more than a few seconds, it's just in that last section. But I felt exhaustion is something I already didn't like. I don't know why it's never sat well with me. And having a mechanic center at a menial 1d10 psychic damage, I don't. I'm wimpy when it comes to inhibiting myself or getting inhibited.
Plus the RP symptoms of amplified feelings of regret, yearning, rage, and despair.
Yeah.
And they will be there forever until the corruption is ended.
I'm 99% sure your players are going to be infected by this.
Yes.
99.
I like the concept, but I could definitely see players getting annoyed.
Yeah. I think I would remove... How would I change this? Because I don't want it to be so infrequent.
I think the easier way is just having a possible way, someone in the adventure to at least cure yourself.
Yeah. Because it's a super common thing.
To cure you. Yeah. To not have it always there unless you either do the wish spell, which no one will have the wish spell. Because it ends at level 13, I think.
12, I think.
And to finish the adventure. At that point, the adventure is over. So...
nice flavor when it's over because everybody across the realm doesn't have this. But you think somebody, since everybody across the realm is getting afflicted with this because it's super desirable and makes stuff real strong. There's also, if you're wearing armor, I believe, or using a weapon, you fail a saving throw while wearing something infused with this.
Oh yeah.
You have to make I think it's a charisma saving throw right then and there.
I believe so.
So you have to roll a 1, which is asking a lot. It's a 1 in 20 chance, and fail the saving. So it's not super crazy, but it's there. It's not my favorite.
Yeah. So I think this is a good segue into now our thoughts on the main guy, the Apotheon, Elixian, I think is how you would pronounce his name. He is the main piece to this campaign. He will be with the players pretty much the entire time inside this item, talking to them and communicating. So the goal of the campaign is to release him and redeem him.
Yes.
But as we've said before, there's a lot of different ways that could go. They can redeem him, they can kill him, or they can just say, fuck it, you can just stay here, dude, I guess, and leave.
Yeah. And I feel most players, there's a point within role-playing Apotheon, it's fairly early on, that they state that helping him overcome his pain and trauma, thus restoring a hero who once saved this realm, ending this section, is a cause worth fighting for. Yeah. And I'm like, that's weak.
It has to be a cause that the players think is worth fighting for. And they might be like, I don't really care about this asshole.
Yeah, this is a world where nobody remembers him, which is honestly the Apotheon's greatest fear. Nobody remembers his stuff, so that works there. And your players are going to be uncovering the secret itself. And it'll feel like a personal, coveted thing that they're figuring out. It's like, wow, this is crazy. But
badass.
If they're not inspired by a dude who's been birthed under an unfortunate circumstance, cursed, or at least people put him down because they think he is, but he actually isn't.
Stepped up in a tough time,
became the hero, and then got put down when he was defending the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like, I feel like that's all said and done. Why do I give a shit?
You did your stuff, man.
Your world
I appreciate you.
Your world is similar, but it's not all, like, none of it's on saving this man who once condemned the world.
Yeah, so I think if the players don't like this guy, then campaign over. And I think if the players, and there's a possibility at some point, the more you talk to Elixian, that the players be like, dude, fuck this guy.
That's where factions save it, though.
True, but and I guess at that point, that's when you have progressed that stuff. And I guess that's when you're like, all right, we got to stop him in some way or put him out of his misery.
There's an early section, I think is what we're getting to, where you can lose your players.
Yeah.
But the sake of playing D&D might keep them going long enough to get to the point where there's multiple options.
Yeah, that'd definitely be a part where you have to tell your players outside the game and say, hey, this is the adventure.
Yeah.
If you guys don't want to do it, then I'll just go grab the Exandria book, the setting book, and we'll just play in this world, I guess.
I do think, like, by the end of it, I wanted something to happen for this person, this man, the apothecary.
Yeah, I think it really does come down to the DM doing a good RP job.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to the rivals. If you're not doing a good RP in this campaign, then the players will not be interested.
Yeah. Do you think throughout the story itself, there's a lot of reference to the repercussions of what this guy has done for you to feel like you need to deal with it?
I don't think until the end.
It's just stuff. Like, I didn't feel there was a connection. Like, I could have just gotten lost in the world and said, like, this is an open world game.
Yeah, well, I think it starts off pretty innocuous. Like, oh, you could bring this guy back. He did a lot of cool, good things for us. Cool. That'd be awesome. And then near the end, you start uncovering, like, literally his entire life.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, literally. I highlighted this part here, and I think this is a good thing that we can go dive into the actual campaign. Yeah. But right here, it says, ultimately, your job, the DM's job, is to try to balance the selfless man that Elixion once was with the traumatized, manipulative being that he has become. That's a tough job for a DM, a not professional actor, to get into someone's head and balance that.
Take a look at, have you watched Arcane yet?
We are 2 episodes in. We started it.
Okay, I don't think you've met the character yet.
Maybe not.
I don't think you have. But this is a very common thing to happen in writing. It's the main villain has been tried by the world, and he's been kicked when he's down, and yet he still helps. But a part of him is battling with this desire to do good with the trauma that he's still living through.
Yeah,
and he didn't really do anybody wrong.
No,
I would say a lot of the time these villains have literally done atrocities, and redeeming them feels like, what the fuck? I don't want to do that.
Help this guy.
So I'm glad they didn't do that here. But to your point, doing those well in media or writing is nigh impossible to pull off. Think of Askeladd or Ashlad, or however his name is.
In Vinland Saga.
Vinland Saga. Yeah. Like, that's a masterful doing of that situation.
And to ask random Joe or DM to do this.
Yeah. They give you enough writing and things to say as him. I think you get the feeling, but...
True.
Yeah.
All right, so as we dive into it, I want to leave you guys with this note. The events of the adventure should make the characters feel stressed and anxious.
Oh, I highlighted that.
But the players should be relaxed.
I fucking hate... Oh my God! I underlined that too. When I read it, I just paused for a moment. I'm like... How can you be relaxed while feeling stressed and anxious?
I think it says here,
I know what it's saying.
It says to have a candid conversation, make sure you know what the limits are. But if the tone is to make them feel stressed and anxious, it's okay. I think it's okay to lean into that as long as the players are on board with feeling these emotions.
Yeah, I think they just worded it weirdly. If it said the events of the adventure should make the characters feel make the characters feel stressed and anxious.
Yeah, the characters, but the players themselves. Okay. But a lot of people, they get into it. Like we have a player at our game that gets so into it that she gets extremely anxious while we're like in the middle of combat. So I understand. Yeah. So I would not blame someone for getting really intense here. Okay, so
that's so funny.
Now let's
that too.
Dive into it.
Okay. Oh boy. Please read up on the swing rules that are right after that section.
It won't come in for a little bit, but when it actually
it comes in right away because that's fucking foreshadowing for the end of the whole campaign.
That's a good point. I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
It is direct. There's even a line from the rival group that says something about a race at the very end of the campaign. It references a thing that goes on at the beginning, and I was like, it's full circle, man.
Okay, so diving into chapter 1. I'm going to say it right off the bat. It's one of my favorite D&D intros.
I love it. Yeah.
And it's fun. It's interactive, pulls the players in, and then you dive. I keep saying, I can't stop saying it. Take a shot every time I say dive. Then you do some really cool race thing, which uncovers the entire campaign, which I think is a great way to get started because you're having fun, and then boom, that's the inciting event. This
is how I'm going to, but you have to think for a little bit. Okay, those of you that are DMs and have bought all the books and run all the campaigns, think of Witchlight. Mm-hmm. This has a carnival at the beginning with games. Yes, yeah. Why does that not work, in my opinion? And why does this work? Because it's similar. I think Witchlight feels too forced. While here it's, and you'll feel like this, I feel like this, the whole adventure is very relaxed in a free-form manner. It gives the players all the options, and they can interact with it as much or as little as they want, while Witchlight felt a little more in your face. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's a big point I wanted to make here. There's an image of the festival itself, and it does a really amazing job of painting the picture here. There are guards sitting on scaffolding. I'm like, what is the situation? If there's something that happens on the street, these dudes are going to jump off of the scaffolding and chase after people. I'm going to shit my pants, man. Art's really cool in this. And,
yes, I like the vibe of where we're starting as well. This little town.
Yeah. There's festivals of merit, and these are going to be things that your players are going to do and actually get items or a pseudo item itself that feels great. And then they're going to be like, shit, I want to do the rest of these too. How long do you think this would take?
I think this could take a couple sessions probably. I mean, if the players really get into it, I could see the entire first chapter either taking like you finish like a big cliffhanger at the very end is like you get this vision after like 4 hours, 5 hours or something. And then, or you do everything up until the race part, and then second session is diving into that section.
It gives you a tool, the race, to say, okay, my players aren't having a bunch of fun right now. Let's go ahead. Bam, race time.
They've been RPing for a while. This is going to be a big change of events. Let's review how to do underwater stuff, and we'll come back next week. And
I think it does a great job of targeting a lot of different characters. So if your player is the type that wants to be really smart and flex their brain, there's a maze you have to get through without making any incorrect turns. Yes. There's a whole bunch of shit here. And you're going to be meeting the rival party here.
I love how you interact with the rival parties. It's just like some guy who's also involved with the festival event and is like, hey, I'm going to kick your ass or something along those lines.
My other friend.
Yeah, just let you know this guy's really good.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And there's a nice little map, and some of the maps are hit or miss in this. Some of them I could feel they did it on an online resource.
It gets the job done.
Yes. You know what? Fuck it. Getting the job done is really all I could ask for maps because they're hard to do. But I don't think like do you have a favorite task or
I like the pie thing. Yeah, I think those can always done poorly, and I like the way it gets harder. And I've a lot of times whenever you see, if you just type in festival games for D&D, you'll see games similar to these, but they're always done slightly different. I like the way they give like different rivals, for lack of a better word, in the event, different modifiers. Like this one, the pie, one guy's a +0, this one is a +2, this one's a +1 on checks, but +3 on saving throws. And what happens if you fail a save and what happens next. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's my same one. I don't remember, is this the NPC, the pie lady that will come and try to kill you later if you mess with her? There's a lady that's similar to her later on. Remember. If you mess with her, she'll come and kill you in your sleep. I'm like, what the
You don't want to be.
I think it's in a different city.
Be wary of who you mess with. I think it is in the other city. Yes, it is in the other. It's the baker.
Yes, so that's what I think. Baker. Yes. Yeah, so
because it's not really a bakery.
Don't look at us like that.
Okay, so moving to the festival, I like then the transition to the race stuff because the town itself in here is just kind of there for the festival. So we get to the Emerald Grotto, which is the underwater section, which is at this point, hopefully you have done your research and know how to do underwater combat. So they have like an hour, I think, to survive under the water. And you're racing the rivals all the way through, so doing different checks and trying to get there quicker. I like the different ways this can play out depending on how good they roll and how bad they roll.
Did you think the mechanic was okay? Because it's pretty simple, just rolling. You go through it slower or faster, and the rival party can inhibit you in a couple of like scripted ways.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of weird moments where like one guy's like scares you, or like tries to stop
or
you
like
from going
throws
in.
A spell or telekinesis and knocks down some stuff. I mean, you'll see later. It's literally just a reference to the very end of this.
I think if you do that well and make it like very lighthearted, like everyone's having fun, kind of like the beginning of Lord of the Rings, all the hobbits just goofing off, having a good time, and then after the shark event, the boss in here, that's when shit starts going down.
Yeah. God, the shark's really fucking cool.
Shark is pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't really have any gripes with how the keeping the track of the race itself. I didn't have a major gripe with that.
In the grotto.
I'm glad they didn't make it too complex.
No, not too complex. I think it would be kind of fun to go through.
And since they keep the ceilings to 15 feet high, DMs, you can figure out diagonal math pretty easily, I would say, versus later on in the game where you need to get those training wheels out and kind of get used to it. Yeah, I didn't have any like major gripes with it. This is a foretelling of the not like massively intricate designs of the dungeons, but the I think if I was in this, I would have a lot of fun here. There's no doors.
No doors at all.
And it's just fairly sure you get to a room, there's a thing, you go to the next one.
Something happens. Yeah, there's no different routes, I think you take. No, it's all straightforward, right? No, you go left or right at the beginning, and then that changes.
When you're in one of the biggest chambers, E10, you can kind of go in a different direction as well. All
right, so you kill the shark. Boom.
Yeah,
things happen, and then he breaks something. And which I think is really cool. He breaks something, and then there's like a hidden wall there, and a whole hidden old room. And inside is an object, the jewel of the 3 prayers. And this is where things can go a couple different directions.
Why is it here? I don't even remember that.
I don't know, lore or something wise. But it's here, and this is the connection to Elixir, and how whoever touches this item gets a vision of Elixir, and whoever doesn't get the vision can kind of hear it in the background.
Yeah.
And this is where if the players aren't the ones that touch it, it can be a vastly different adventure, which I think is cool. But I could see the players being, I'm not the main
why are we
characters.
Yeah.
What am I doing here?
Hey, how would that go if I can see how it goes later in the campaign, where you're chasing after them and maybe you kill them or you get the amulet finally, and then you have the moment of the players swapping over. But like, what's the motivation to do anything?
It comes from, I think, the guy later, or like someone later. Oh, the motivation is
just the chief or whatever his name is, the elder.
Well, he doesn't talk. He only talks if you get it. So
shit.
Yeah. So the motivation comes from, again, you got to have some people that want to do some good in this world.
Yeah.
Because you learn about how important this thing is from the chief. The chief is like saying, "Oh, I can't believe they're going to just go sell this item." And so that's your cue to be like, "Oh, they're going to just go sell this. We got to stop them from selling it."
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But if the players don't care, then I mean, I don't know.
Most of the time, you're playing.
I guess if they don't care, their odds are to go to the main capital on Corel anyway.
Yeah. And
then you get involved with the faction, and then you'll probably end up caring at some point along the line.
I appreciate that it isn't just straightforward, like you have this, go do the thing. We don't care if you're invested or not. Like there are ways it can go. I, as a DM, would probably still kind of shoehorn my players into getting it more so than the rivals.
Yes, there's a very particular, like if they almost all die or something against the shark, then I guess the rivals have to get it or something.
So it's not like super possible to get it.
There's something in here, I can't remember where it is, but they basically say if the a party doesn't want to go somewhere, then you have to push them with the random encounters to somehow push them in that direction.
That might be with the
caravan
to the big city.
I think
it might
so.
Be like that.
Yeah.
There's a trend right now that is the next step section at the end of the chapter. And this is a common thing, even until the end.
Very helpful.
There's usually 3 or so, 2 to 3 ways that it can go.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that, and haven't seen this in a single WotC book that we've read so far. But I haven't read all of them. I've not read all of them. So don't come after me if I'm incorrect there, which I probably am. But it's character triumph, rival triumph, which we just talked of, and what of the jewel? Like, very much appreciated. It keeps you on track of where you're going. And I feel as a DM, I'd still recommend reading the whole thing, but you could definitely just read chapter 1, and when they get there, stop.
Yeah,
like
you can get away with this.
Yeah, you can get away with it without reading the rest of the chapters.
Especially because the first intro before the chapter 1, there's a whole section that breaks down each location, which I also like. So you get all the base information you need, and then you can kind of go from there.
Yeah, so you won't have to be super crazy boys like us and read the whole thing right away, but you probably would anyways because you paid money for it. So
that's true.
Chapter 2 is
the leave taking.
I hate the titles. The leave taking. Oh, they're taking a leave now. Writing crew. What are we going to leave taking?
Perfect
with a dash in there. That art though. Ugh.
Yeah, the art of this, the waste of Jorhas is great.
So is that Jorhas is how it's pronounced?
Yes,
they do have a pronunciation thing.
So I love this is when it really starts opening up, and I love the free form nature, like we were saying before. The 3 different ways this chapter can begin. I think this is I don't know. I like the tone that it's trying to come through with the different ways that this can. Yeah. The atmosphere, different ways that this happens in the world as it gets pushed out. Because basically he comes to talk to you about stuff. You have I like the vision that he talks to you about. He's like, I had this crazy vision. And it's like, because it's really lighthearted until this point, and then you get this first vision in the grotto, And then this guy comes to you, the chieftain comes to you and tells you about a vision he had. And that vision's dark. He's like, this is really spooky stuff. I think that really sets the tone for what's coming for the party. It's not just a happy, we're all hobbits having a fun time. This is, oh shit, we're about to walk into the minds of Mordor.
I think the useful thing about visions too is if you kind of insinuate that either the players are there or we're in this vision, it kind of sets their mind to want to see that to fruition.
Yeah, that you're an important part of this.
Yeah, like, okay, this is going to happen. So whenever plot lines up and it says, hey, this is a thread that leads directly to that dream that has existed, it can transplant the desire to save the Apotheon for the desire to meet or defy the destiny.
Yeah.
That's way bigger than helping some lost dude that's been pinned under a spear for
Which ages. I did find this section. This is refusing the call. If the characters don't want to follow the plot or travel, like it's just they don't want to follow the plot or travel to Bazzoxan, then you'll need to create side encounters in Xhorhas that will guide them in that direction.
Yeah.
Sounds hard.
So it definitely seems like they thought of it. That is the biggest issue with a lot of campaigns is the draw, like pulling people in. Now, I'd love to believe in players' goodwill of just like eating up quests that you throw at them, but that's not going to happen all the time. Especially if you got players like Kenneth. Kenneth needs a good hook, like a really big one. To me, honestly, I feel like the whole caravan thing and travel is the weakest part of it, but it's just general D&D and traveling. So it is the part of a book that is least iconic to it. It's just D&D. It's traveling.
Yeah, I like some of the encounters in there. Yeah. They're pretty cool. I've never enjoyed random encounters. I still don't in this book. So I just don't like the idea of randomness, which is funny coming into a game that involves random dice rolls. But I would pick out my favorites of the random encounters here and then piece them into the game.
It works well in my Zelda 5e campaign where we roll. It's 2d6s, and we've several times landed on the Lionel encounter, and it's been absolutely terrible. So it can be fun and also terrible. The road to how do you say that?
Which one?
Bazzoxan,
yeah.
Bazzoxan. Thank you. Yeah. This is the map where I was like, what is that?
Oh, the map I have an issue with here. I actually drew a line of where you're going. On my map. Yeah. So you go from Jigao in the kind of northish region down through the barbed fields into Bazzoxan. Yes. There's a gigantic map and you're not going to any of that.
Yeah. My issue with this map is like, I know the exact program that they did in this and I can feel the person copying, pasting all the maps. Like it's fine. It does its job. But one square equals 200 miles. The squares in this game or in this area were strange to me. I think it's largely unoffensive. Largely unoffensive, I think is a good way to put it. I like the Ill Omen is really cool with the moon stuff because I think you have to do that one for sure to let the party know that the moon's doing some weird nonsense. Yeah, the moon's super, super important. So cool. Oh. And I like this recommendation because a lot of times, and I saw this conversation on the D&D Reddit a little bit ago about I feel like an asshole whenever I RP two NPCs talking to themselves, and there was a bunch of recommendations like how you can fix this. This game or this book itself already says to make role-playing the rivals easier because they're always going to be together for the most part. And there's like 5. I guess there's as many there are in the party, right? I think something like that. To make role-playing the rivals easier, have 1 or 2 of them take center stage during the encounter. So pick 1 or 2 of your favorites and have them talk to the party instead of like having this NPC talk to this NPC that didn't talk to this NPC. It can get a little out of hand. Yeah. So I appreciate them letting us know. That if you've ever done that as a DM, it feels like the most wrong thing in the world. It feels really weird. It feels super wrong. It's unless your voices are just stellar. Yes, and you're like the best actor in the world. Just like, I mean, even watching like Critical Role, like Matthew Mercer, even it doesn't seem natural when he's doing it, and he's been doing it like forever. Yeah, but those more bounders are super cool looking too. When I got to how they looked in the appendix or whatever is at the end, I think appendix. It's real cool stuff. Chapter 3? Yeah, chapter 3. Bazzoxan. Yep, what he said. Cool. Come on, there it is. This city looks so fucking cool. Oh my god! And it fits so because it was like. It was at the center of the war with what are the gods called? The Betrayer gods, which are a motley crew of gods that you definitely know of. Like it's Tiamat and a bunch of other people. I think so. Yeah, there's a list of them somewhere, and there's like demonic ridden skulls all over the city. So it's like, is this just a normal place people live? And like, yeah,
Yeah, well, these guys are like watching over this area, but the Betrayer's Rise is what it's called.
And I think, is this chapter 3 where factions come in? No, it's the next one. Okay.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Okay. Yeah. What's going on in this one other than like 48 mouthing gibber boys?
So it's basically the concept of here is you get into the city, hopefully, are eventually pushed into the Betrayer's Rise, do some stuff in there, and then head out.
Yeah.
But I like how, I think if you didn't, I get how dark the tone could get in this story before now you're getting it. This is where things start. You start seeing all the gibbering mouthers like you were talking about, the weird creatures. And I also like this section here. Because you start meeting, this one you get me a little more helpful NPCs that are walking around doing different stuff. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I love this guy. It's Varen. Varen. I saw him and I was like, wait a minute, is that a glaive?
But which I'm glad you mentioned, because it says here, if the characters get stuck or frustrated, you can use friendly non-player characters such as Varen Thalos, and the faction agents give them hints about how they can learn more, which I think is easily forgotten by new DMs and things that other adventurers don't say. So I appreciate them giving the little push that if the players are having some difficulty, use these NPCs to push them inside of the Betrayer's Rise.
Varen's so cool.
Badass.
He's an Echo Knight spellcaster, dude. He's got a glaive.
That's all you've ever wanted. And he's a drow.
He's so cool. Yeah, he's hot. The art from like super fucking cool. I don't know. It's pretty straightforward, like kind of a dungeon crawly sort of thing with some abyssal monsters.
Once we get to the Betrayer's Rise.
Yes.
Before we get there, it's just like a big city. Yeah. Well, a small city, I guess.
Kind of.
I like the scenes table. Where's that at? The scenes table.
Encounter. No, that's a little.
Yeah, here we go. Bazzoxan scenes. I love these different scenes because they're not combat. It's all different little random ways to show how rough it must be to live in this place. How dark it is.
Bazzoxan scenes, yes.
This is a tired drow merchant attempts to sell what's left of his inventory. And an old tiefling sobs as he carries a small casket toward the crematorium, which I love. My favorite area in this whole place is the crematorium, and how that whole scene plays out, and how you can begins to flesh out the world. You meet these different characters who are doing different things. They all got every NPC I've met in here feels important to the plot in some way.
I hate reading the words "small casket."
Yeah, isn't it sad?
It says so much.
I know. And he's sobbing.
Yeah.
But every encounter in this chapter is just oozing with different possibilities. And the open-ended format, because the players, I think what's beautiful about open-ended formats like this is the players dictate how interested they are. If they don't care about it, boom, they just can head on by. If they're super interested, they will just eat every little area up.
Yeah, I think they're in the crematorium. Yeah, the two NPCs there in particular. Mm-hmm. The small tiefling dude and the elf man.
Is my favorite spot.
It's really good. And then there's a lot of other places that you can jump out into.
Places no one gives a shit about.
It's interesting. It's like a mix of a dungeon and just a city.
Yes,
I like
the Furbolg here too. Very cool.
Yeah, I was kind of touched by him.
Yeah, I like because the different NPCs you meet it's almost like a beginner's area, a beginner's guide to factions, because they all have their own wants and wishes, and all want in some way for the players to go into the Betrayer's Rise to do something. So if you like this Furbolg guy, he's like, oh, this is a weird place. Maybe you
and the messages on the wall too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of different things that can push them in that direction.
So I think at this point, I'm still being impressed by, even if your players can be disinterested, I'm impressed by how they're getting people to go in more than just for the sake of the quest.
Yes, yeah. The players are still disinterested after you've done all this stuff. Like, let's say they're disinterested until they get to Sorhoff.
Get some new players.
Yeah, I think that's when we need to stop it. All right, guys, what's playing this game? What's going on?
Yeah.
Then Betrayer's Rise happens, and I love this dungeon. The creepiness that's inside, the atmosphere, the tension. It reminds me of, I was telling old Braxton earlier, it reminds me of what I love about the Amber Temple from Curse of Strahd.
Yes, it is super cool. And not too many doors. No.
There's a lot of different things that happen inside, a lot of different like side stuff. I think it's a really well laid out dungeon. The secret area stuff is cool, but it's not like it's super necessary. You can find it in a different way.
You better like secret areas.
I love secret areas.
Okay, later, there's a shit shitload of secret areas later on. No, I was rolling through, and whenever I'm looking at a map, I like finding like just weird looking shit, and just lowest floor prayer site of Avandra with the crazy looking image that it has on the map. I'm like immediately wanting to scroll down and just see what that is. Yeah, so I think it does a really good job of getting you DMs interested in reading and moving forward and seeing where you're going.
And then the fight at the end, like the rivals get involved too, and it doesn't have to just be a straightforward fight. There's a lot of different ways that can go because they don't want to kill the players, really.
No, it specifically says at this point that they don't want to,
unless you've pissed them off enough at this point.
That's true.
But the whole point of them, they want to get the jewel, whatever's the things that are down here, and then they're just going to teleport out.
Yeah,
and that's how you get to Ank'Harel. You can just take their teleport thing. I mean, I almost thought, what if the players don't get the teleport stuff? What happens next? But then the book already thought about that. There's other options for them to get to Ank'Harel.
It's not super crazy. You're like, well, I mean, I feel like if they're adding all these options, it's going to get really segmented, and then everything is going to be changed, and it's going to be really hard to. I was like, no, it's real straightforward. I keep doing that. I'm hitting his iPad. We have the same iPad.
Touch my iPad.
And whatnot.
Don't touch my iPad.
He's got the newer, fancier version.
Thank you.
Crazy man.
Okay, but that's chapter 4.
Yeah.
We could really delve into every little section of here, but we'd be here forever.
Whaling statue. Yeah, we would be here forever.
I really do like Betrayer's Rise.
Next chapter. Yeah, Jewel of Hope. Chapter 4.
Yeah, chapter 4. This chapter. Oh man. Every time I run a big city, it scares the living crap out of me, and this is the same. The open nature of this chapter in particular is so intimidating to me that it seems like if the players don't know what the players want, then you're gonna have to know literally everything and kind of point them in different directions. And granted, the different ways they can come here already kind of dictate where they're gonna go, because they're either gonna come with an NPC who's like, hey, go to my faction, they're gonna help you out, or you're chasing someone that just stole something from you guys.
Yeah, I feel like I'm surprised you say it, because I feel like the factions really narrow it down whenever you get into one of them.
True. But I think getting to that point, finding a faction that you're interested in and finding out what the different rivals are doing and the different, the consortium, the allegiance, meeting all these different people. It seems like it can be tough to run.
My first moment of like shitting my pants was when I looked at the map.
Right?
I didn't realize how big it was until I saw that.
And they could have made this chapter even more intimidating by including everything inside the city, but they really narrow it down, which I appreciate.
Yeah. But do you feel like it's going to be impossible if a player like really tries to go outside and feel the open worldness of just the city itself? You think you'd be able to run it?
I think I'd be scared. Yeah. I think you could do it. I think maybe this is a way that...
So you don't think it prepares them for that?
Not as much as they probably could.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's... I'm trying to try to look real fast. It gives you a few areas. It tells you the different districts. Actually, it does a pretty good job. I think it makes it feel pretty big, but because of the nature of, a gigantic city, it's a little tough to do that.
Yeah.
I could see someone really loving Ank'Harel and being, you know what, I'm going to go pick up not the Taldore book. What's the... Whatever book has... Actually, no, I don't think Ank'Harel's in one yet.
I don't think it is.
No, it's not. So never mind. Forget it. So you can't go pick anything up and get a little more information on it. But I do... I like how it is laid out, because the intensity of this chapter, if it's done well, it can be extremely rewarding for the players and the DM, because there's the factions are interwoven together, the different areas you can go to that are written in here, the different districts and stuff. At first reading through, it's like, man, it's a lot of stuff that I don't know why the players really go to these. And you read the faction quests, like, oh, the faction quests send them to these places. It all makes sense. It all comes together.
How would you pick what the rivals are doing?
It tells you a little bit of information, but there's definitely a lot of open-ended stuff.
Because they could go into any of the factions.
Yeah.
And directly, and that's where a bit of the motivation for the rivals are. Maybe the faction's goal for the Iridium is entirely different from what you guys are trying to do. So that is an actual reason other than just, we want to be the hero, not you.
Yes.
Or fuck you guys because you like pissed on us or something like in Critical Role.
Gross.
I really enjoyed it. Especially the way they break down, where is it? For every faction, there's an allegiance story track. And I love that they do this.
Yes. Before they even get into the actual quest line.
Yeah. And it tells you as the DM, you can read pretty much the first mission and the last mission to get a good feel of what they're trying to do and where they fit within the entire story itself. So I appreciated that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, which one was your favorite?
Faction?
Yeah.
My favorite faction is the where is it here? I mean, I don't think it's the best one that the players should probably pick.
Yeah.
I like the Consortium of the Vermilion Dream, the like kind of culty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't pick that.
I don't think it's a good choice.
No, it's not a good choice.
But I think it's an enticing choice.
Yes. There are 3 endings, and they would definitely like one of them over the others, and that one's not as fun and very difficult.
You could help them for a little bit, but I mean, it doesn't mean that that thing's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not too, like massive repercussions for it. Good chapter. Yeah,
the faction quests, I really like how at first it feels pretty sporadic, like they're just doing stuff around Ank'Harel, the city, and then eventually it starts teetering and pushing towards, hey, there's just stuff going on in Netherdeep. We don't want these guys to get the power in there, or I want the power, or we just want to shut down the power. They all have their own motivations when they go into Netherdeep. There's an aboleth in there that some of them want to get rid of.
Scary, but
it's really cool. There's some really exciting stuff that is interwoven into it that slowly pushes the players and gets them ready for. I mean, this itself, I could see being its own, like the Gazetteer section, the area, the setting of Ank'Harel. I could see being its own setting book.
That's what I was gonna say. You're
so intense.
You're gonna be spending most of the campaign in chapter 4.
Yes, this will be. I mean, you could spend months in here. This is a gigantic section.
Could you go from faction to faction realistically? And well, I think it wouldn't work. You couldn't do all of their missions.
Yeah, because some things involve ones that you've done in another one.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you take that, like the elephant, if you take that elephant to one of the other groups.
Yeah, as a player, this is something I'm always thinking about: is how long am I going to be doing each of these missions? And
yes. I mean, this is
this could be chunky. Like almost a full at our pace, which is fairly slow compared to other people. About a year's worth of shit, maybe a little bit less. But like each of these missions, 1 through 6, for each of the factions, can be several sessions. Like,
and to be fair, you can accomplish those quests while doing the main quest.
Yeah.
So it all kind of comes together.
It does. I enjoy it. I wasn't expecting this chapter to be as long as it was.
I was not. But they really go into detail for each quest. And
yes.
I love it.
And there's some great art and whatnot. And
the little culty dude in there looks so
yes,
cool.
You start seeing the effects of the iridium, especially within that guy. I just scrolled past him. But then you get to the culmination of most of the faction quests, and the main story is going to the Drowned City. This is
Morrow.
Quick lore dump is there was this one-eyed god of crazy boy Grumsh that was fighting against our Apotheon, and he thrust his spear into our hero, which poked a hole in this drow city.
Yes,
essentially. And at the tip of the spear, there was a portal or connection to an otherworldly god, which is connected to, or not otherworldly god, just influence of the moon itself and whatnot.
Moon, yeah.
And it locked the Apotheon in this space.
Yes.
Stuck him here, and that's known as the Netherdeep. But before that is the Drowned City, Kael Morrow.
Yeah.
And this is like the next the whole next section, chapter 5. That's the lore dump for it, I suppose. Let me scroll down and get to it. This is already where I'm getting more interested, because a lot of the major story beats and the crazy monsters start showing up.
Yes.
The rivals
definitely pushing to the big climax.
Yeah, the rivals are right there. There's a lot of drops of the Elixian and his background start coming in here. So this is where I started getting more interested. When he came in a bit more.
I like how the rivals are shifted and changed in this chapter, because it really starts fitting the changing of the tone and showing that the world is bigger than what the players are doing. That like you said, the rivals have been doing their own thing this whole time as well. And I like the different ways that this dungeon can progress. It's got a lot of different moving parts, with the aboleth moving through and being really creepy and spooky. I don't like how many times it's said that the aboleth will reach out to the party here, and then you go to the next room, the aboleth touches the party here. And it happens like every time. I think doing it once or twice can be really cool and scary and spooky. But doing it every time, I think it's a little
kind of reminded me of COD Zombies when they started introducing constant bosses in there. It's like, I'm just tired of this fucker that's running around all the time.
Yeah, the poisoned encounters is what they're called.
Yes, but kind of going past a bit of that into one of the final encounters in the temple. What is it? The Temple of the Archheart. It's simple, but there's several ways to be able to get deeper into it that involve either getting certain items, having a certain NPC, or unlocking something else in the dungeon to be able to go deeper. It runs the risk of letting water inside again and filling it up. Yes. A lot of this is underwater. This section isn't. I just enjoyed the variety of it without locking people out because they failed to save or didn't do something. But it still feels like for the reason they were able to get in is the one special way. So it makes your players feel really cool, but it's not just, oh, you failed your DC 16 was saved to open a thing. Now you can't access this part of the dungeon. Sorry.
Yeah. On that note, I like how it's not just combat in this dungeon. There's a lot of different RP in here. Then you get a little combat going, a little spooky stuff. And it's a good intro to the more intense mechanics that will be coming up in the following chapter.
Yeah, so when you start getting the visions and whatnot, I think there's 2 like right after that portion.
Yes.
Within the Archheart. No, I don't think the underwater combat is too rough, honestly. The verticality is what's going to make it the most difficult.
Yes.
Because everything is flying, essentially.
I think I think finding a way to show it well on a map, I think would probably be the tough part.
Yeah, I don't even think even the best virtual tabletops, because they're all 2D, are going to work well with it. If you're in person, there's a way to get some plastic or acrylic and just raise things up.
Yeah,
but having
some of those.
One for each height is kind of insane. You're needing to fill up an entire cube's worth of space here, which is a little insane.
So now here at the end of the chapter, this is the part where you either need a weapon, a ruidium weapon, to open the rift, or to have the jewel in its exalted state.
I feel like getting an item is not too rough.
No, it's not too bad here.
But the fact remains that you do need to touch it, and if you aren't infected already, when you grab this thing, it's going to continue to do so. So, yeah.
And this is not going to be, I don't think, because of the way the faction quests work, this is not going to be done in all one fell swoop.
No, it even mentions that.
Coming back out, going back.
It's kind of like how Pathfinder is.
And especially after killing the Aboleth, and maybe the party somehow makes their way into the rift. If they're not ready, they will find out pretty quick because they will start feeling the effects, the pressure.
You can't go in here.
No, you'll go in there for a minute, and then you just hear the DM say, all right, here's another damage you take. And you're in there for another second. Here's some more damage you take.
This is where I got a little freaked because, okay, so we're not going into chapter 6 just yet. But the effects of the Netherdeep, before I got to the point where I found out how they can circumvent it, I was like, how do we do this? Where is it?
Are you talking about the water pressure part?
Yeah.
So the creatures not native to Netherdeep take 35 10d6 force damage at the end of every minute they swim within the Netherdeep, unless they're wearing or wielding an item infused with Ruidium or have Ruidium embedded in their bodies. And you also need to be able to survive underwater for an extended period of time.
Yeah. Now, if you're just like a water genasi or something, you're like, I am chilling. Other than the water pressure. We kind of glazed through chapter 5, but I felt it was a pretty solid dungeon with a moderately annoying boss that follows you.
The Aboleth?
Yeah. Still cool, though. Still cool. Chapter 6, though.
Chapter 6. Now we're in the Netherdeep itself.
This is when you find out it's a cosmic horror.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yay! The moon the whole time was just an alien thing with a bunch of fucking eyeballs.
I love too when it explains the moon at the beginning of the intro. God. It's like the scope of the moon is for another adventure. Kind of scary.
Yeah.
That they're probably going to come back to this bad boy. It makes me wonder if maybe like Matthew Mercer had this idea for this campaign and then they just went in a different direction.
I wish I'd be watching it right. There's a portion where it says like the moon's eyes or something else. Like it just has eyes all fucking over it. I'm like, this. So
as Brax is mentioning, the tone definitely starts shifting a little darker the deeper we descend into this madness.
If I could describe what all this looks like, it's the Reaper from Subnautica.
Yes.
It's red, dark, and like all of the monsters look like that kind of, but with a little more infection going on. Mm-hmm. So this whole area and the point of coming here, once you're dealing with all your factions, like, okay, we've got all our armor, we're not going to die when we jump in, is to make your decision on what you want to do with the Apotheon. At this point, you've learned so much about him.
Yep.
And you understand that he is locked in here to your understanding against his will.
Getting corrupted.
Yeah, getting corrupted. And he should either be slain or pulled out or something. And that's pretty much it, honestly.
Yes. Yeah. And I would say this chapter is broken up into 3 sections as well. The first one, I love sections 2 and 3. I think sections 2 and 3 are phenomenal. I don't like section 1.
The Grottos of Regret?
Yes. I think there's far too many visions and things going on in here. I could see the party not enjoying it.
So these visions are a pretty big mechanic. And you're going to be overwhelmed. People are listening.
Those visions. True. Yes. It's interesting. There's 2 visions that I'm talking about. Those visions that happen in certain areas, and whenever the players rest, so you get one of these visions. And then there's the visions that happen when you go to each room. And that's when you get the lore, the more information, and there's like a scene that plays out. And some of them are interesting. Some of them are, to me, not very interesting. And I could see the players being, again, if they don't like the Apotheon or not interested in what's happening here, some of the scenes are, like I said, seem very bland to me.
So you want to know the funny thing?
Uninteresting.
I'm a very particular person, but the first time this adventure hooked me is the moment I read the Apotheon lore and the visions. And the whole time I'm thinking, any moment that Ryan stops the party when we absorb a fragment of suffering, which we'll talk about later, fall unconscious, etc., whatever, I would be like at the edge of my seat.
Okay, good.
I fucking love this shit.
Okay. So those I'm okay with, to a point.
Yeah.
I think the Child's Lament, is that the first one that I don't really like?
You don't like the Child's Lament?
It's just every room. Every room is another. There's nothing, because it says the vision fades. There's nothing here. It's all of them is a very particular scene with a vision.
I can't divorce you from that thought, because if you don't like it. Right. But rather than this being a dungeon, it is his mind.
Yeah.
Like those encounters are the dungeon.
Yes. This is true. I mean, this is true. But like one of them, you're hunting for meat, and you're like helping the party hunt for meat, or helping them hunt for some stuff. You get some like the haunted raiders and the wraiths that are coming out. I think chapter 2 and 3 do the concept of this better. I just think the different visions, to me, aren't as strong. Yeah,
I think it. Yeah, I'm not expecting a lot of insane writing from this. Maybe my standards are set a bit lower. I do watch a lot of anime, so that's part of it.
It's got some good writing.
It does sometimes. But no, when I was reading this, I was having a lot of fun thinking about me. I mean, I'm a warlock. I like visions and shit. Maybe
it's more interesting actually participating and playing it.
Because I could really see myself being in this crazy place, learning about this dude, understanding what it is, going deeper and finding out it's literally all of his emotions in one area that have been festering because he's been shut down here. Spoiler alert, he could leave at any fucking time. It's just him not feeling ready to go back in the world with all of his regret and sadness and whatnot. He's like, I can't get back out there. So it's kind of, D&D being therapy.
It definitely is about therapy. There's trauma. And you can treat his trauma.
Yes. So I loved it. I wasn't taking as much of a critical look at the structure of the dreams themselves, because I don't feel like I'm ever approaching it from that direction. I was trying to think of it as a player. Am I in this and enjoying this? And I'd be shitting myself like every session.
So the one I really don't like, and this one I'm curious your opinion on, the battle of the Betrayer's Rise
with the waves.
Yes, I don't like the waves.
I don't like the way they. I felt like spat in the face with like the what he says. They say like by the Apotheon's words, they should know that they have to fight through all of the waves, and I'm like, how the fuck did that line that you say at all tell them that they have to fight wave after wave? It's literally him just saying, oh, I can feel my brother or my sword friends desire to fight, so I must continue. And it's like, that doesn't say, hey, there's gonna be like 3 waves, you got to keep going to figure
I could see this being boring.
I think the fight itself is boring.
Yes, the fight I mean, yeah,
I do have problems with that.
Then the fragments, we haven't really talked about the fragments. So in some of these areas you can get what are called fragments of insert emotion here. And they give you different stuff. For example, the fragment of pity right here. Each time you spend a hit die to regain hit points, you regain additional hit points equal to your proficiency bonus.
The drawback for this one is not worth it.
You have disadvantage on death saving throws.
No. I was like, these are all pretty like benign. And then I read that and I was like, not in my game. No.
And these are important because all of you need at least one fragment to be able to go into the final boss fight.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you want to get the secret ending, you have to really pay attention during these dreams and get like good outcomes to be able to heal him.
To heal our boy.
Yeah. So which
I would say is even that's I would say probably
that's the function of all this.
Ending that you're supposed to get.
Yes.
But I can see a lot of players not getting there.
I don't think it would happen. It does feel like a secret ending. It is written as the good ending, I think they mentioned. So backtracking a little bit. During the fight, let's talk about the one that Ryan didn't like. Okay. The main dude that's fighting with the Apotheon says that he is like at death's door. He's not feeling too great, but if you so wish it, because you fought so valiantly, I would gladly go with you and continue. The DM's notes then say that this dude's at 1 HP. So it's like, this guy's like, I'm gonna fucking die now, but I'll go with you if you really need me. And if the players heal him, this then triggers the effect of helping
emotional healing is what they call it.
Emotional healing. It's helping him process these emotions to look at them in a more positive light rather than toxic and negative, which is kind of like therapy.
It is.
I enjoy what they're doing there. So
I do. I love the theme. I love the concept.
Yeah. So this, rather than a dungeon crawl, it's a, I don't know, therapy crawl, I guess. I liked it. The fragments. Yeah. So you need these to open the door, basically the key, but your rivals are also looking for them.
Yes, they are. And them being down there in the Netherdeep, you can start twisting them, making them dark.
This is where I really like the rivals, how they exist. Oh my word, you are being so persistent. Oh my God, she's hanging out with me.
But that's the first area, the regret or something, whatever it's called.
No regrets.
Then we got the Vents of Fury.
Oh boy, that's
this I love. I love the.
What you love about it? What does it do better?
To me, it does the. This is when you start really seeing. The Apotheon's not this shiny beacon of hope as he wants you to think he is.
He hardly ever was.
Yeah, but it's at this point when you start seeing that stuff. Because you don't really know that he's got some issues until you see some in the last one. But even the last one, you're like, hey, he's had a tough childhood.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, why is he yelling at me so often? Why does he hate? Dude, I hate this asshole.
Yeah. That's the point of this part, though.
Yeah, I love it. Because it's like the first time, because you'll start experiencing rough emotions against this Apotheon guy. It's the first time a character speaks out against him, he will yell. And then if the character speaks out against him again, he yells more things, and the players get hurt by burning water.
Yeah.
And then if they get a third time, he's really pissed off. And he starts sending creatures to come and attack you. I mean, I love how it can really start pitting the players against this guy.
It's foreshadowing, too, because in the final fight, that same function of saying things against him triggers certain sections of the fight. Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
But this is where it turns more into a typical dungeon crawl. It's more standard, like, combat stuff happening here. But even then, it gets a little different.
Like I said, I was already kind of drawn in at this point. So whenever I got to this point, I was like, you got places like the Belching Gallows and Frothing Hollow. I'm like, bro, let's get in there. But yeah, the bubbling water. There's a lot of secret doors. Where's all the secret doors start really happening?
Yes.
And I was like, oh no.
And we get to the spear and stuff with Theo.
Is that where this part happens?
Yes.
Yeah, Theo. So I found Theo to be a really cool narrative device too.
Yes, because it goes from a bunch of just combat encounters and then pulls you back to the RP with our boy Theo.
Yeah, so Theo, you could even not get him.
Yeah.
If you fight the main boss and you come to that place first, you get the spear with
it was interesting because when I read this, without looking at the map, it feels very linear. It's like, okay, he's going from place to place, and you look at the map like, oh, they could go completely opposite, weird direction.
You want to fight Ganon first? Go ahead. Well, you got to get the
fragments,
the Ragrats first. And then there's some really awesome monsters, like a slithering bloodflame that explodes when you kill it.
It's super cool.
Super. I'm a venture to say that's my favorite monster.
Braxton's a big fan of creatures that explode after you kill them.
No. I was so fucking scared, man. I'm glad I figured that out, though. And then there's a really cool tunnel that whenever the Warriors of Wrath in particular, when you finish the entire encounter, it starts grabbing you like tentacle hentai walls, and it's really fucking scary. It gets really vivid. The descriptions, the blue text.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I love the box. Like there's a part where when Theo's with you, and he said, when Elixian's rage is spent temporarily, the Netherdeep grows dark and quiet. In those moments, I hear gentle laughter echoing through the grottos, and I feel a lightness. Dare I say, a budding joy. I think in such moments, he finds peace.
So this is when you're starting to realize that he's somewhat okay. He's healing himself. You've helped him at this point as well. But he's struggling. And I don't remember at what point it says it. It might even, he might say it himself, the Apotheon, but he could have left at any time. Yeah. But his whole gripe is that he's been trapped here and he needs somebody to tell him it's okay to go.
He doesn't feel like he's ready.
Yeah. So it's a self-imposed prison.
Ready. He's not ready.
He's so tragic. Well, when you look like fucking Rom the vacuous spider, yeah, you're not ready. You see that? It literally looked like it.
Yeah.
Did you have that thought? Where is it at?
It's the next chapter. Down, it's a little farther down. Then we got so the chasm of yearning. I love the weird events that take place in here. The pictures of the cavern of many hams.
Oh my God.
That's freaky, man. That's scary just looking at that.
Yeah, and the description of them just wanting to feel the gentle touch of other creatures.
And then there's the cavern of many eyes there.
That's my shit, man. So if you're looking for like cosmic horror, eldritch horror shit, just years down the line, we're going to take inventory of all of the books and the ones that we like and the ones that have cosmic horror and eldritch shit.
Probably the top.
And we're going to like most of them.
Even just the names of each of these. This next one, we got the Cavern of Many Graves, the Cavern of Many Peaceful Inns. Yeah. Fantastic.
Some of them do have these fragments in them, and I do feel like it's a little treat when you get them. But as a player, I would find it to be a really impactful moment.
Yeah.
Because at this point, you've gotten some and see the drawbacks. So now you know. I would be like, Ryan, what does this one do? And you're looking like, oh, you
can't get rid of it. You can give it to someone else, but when you have it, it's with you guys. Yeah. You have this fragment until you go to the final area. You can put it into.
So I'll do the rivals to like give us your fragments, and I'll be like, okay, which ones really suck?
Yeah, take this one.
Take this one and this one. Don't tell them we have more.
I think that's a good segue though to getting into the heart of despair. You have to use your fragment to get into the heart. And this is where you meet the rivals again. And it says it can either, if they hate you, this is the final spot.
That is Rom the vacuous spider.
Yeah, this is the part you're talking about. Yeah. That if I don't know if I can. If the rivals hate you, this will be like the final encounter, the final fight. And it will not end well.
Yeah, you can't see it. I'm showing you too.
There you go. Look at that.
I can't see it.
But it'll be the big final fight here.
This is
with the rivals and then with the Apotheon.
You don't have to fight with the rivals. If they hate you.
Well, if they hate you, yeah. And if they like you, they could even give you some fragments to help you get in.
Hell yeah.
And they could come join you, too.
So this chapter is a 3-tiered boss fight.
Which I love. So cool.
Now, you'd be like, Ryan the Frostmaiden kind of did. No, that shit was annoying.
That shit was annoying.
It was really annoying. They're going to come chase you.
And there's a way that you can just go to a different time period and just forget the whole thing.
Just forget the whole thing. You are fighting Elixian in his first form, which is...
Well, first, before you fight, you talk to him, right? And he asks you, may I leave? And you can pick. You can decide. And if you take too long, he starts getting angry.
That is guaranteed to happen.
Yeah, the party starts talking to each other. He's like, sure, take your time.
In our game, that is 100%. I feel like
what I would do is I'd actually set a timer for myself. Like after 5 minutes, maybe after 2 minutes, I'd say, so have you know, just to kind of show him getting a little more antsy. So
but he looks like that, right? He is the little worm dude. The crazy.
He only changes when you start fighting him.
There's no way I would let him go.
But he's such a nice guy.
No, he's big old Rom the vacuous spider, dude. You're staying right there.
Well, then what happens is the water starts churning. There's sounds of breaking glass and cracking stone. And he says, I will claim everything I've waited these long centuries for. You will be the ones the world forgot. Damn,
except not because we were just there.
And that's where it says the 3-stage battle begins as follows.
So do you like the arena? It is literally a big ass circle.
I think it works because of all the other features that are happening within.
Yeah.
I think if you try to do too much with all the other features happening, and then it can get like, for the DM especially, like, dude, there's so much I gotta be paying attention to.
So I can't count all these, but it must be like 200 radius or diameter sphere with 3 locations that represent each of the gods that he's gotten power from, with him as statue in the center that looks like it's being corrupted.
Yes.
It's pretty pimping.
Do you want to talk about what happens if you just let him go? Or do you want to wait till we get to the endings?
No, we can talk about that now.
Right,
we can talk about the other two, yeah.
So the options are you decide by letting him go right then and there.
Yes, and letting him go after admonishing him.
Yes, which happens during a fight.
Yes, or killing him.
Or killing him, which also happens during the fight.
Yeah.
So if you aren't able to figure out that you can admonish him and help him, then you just probably end up killing him, which is, I mean, it's an all right option.
And honestly, I feel like it really, I'm going to call it a secret ending.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not very likely.
I think you have to, as a DM, you'd have to push that this is not just a combat, that you can also talk to him and have him engage with the players.
Yeah. And
maybe have the players engage back. And you can even give them the first placating the Apotheon in a pretty innocuous way. Maybe it doesn't have to do the exact way that they do, but they'd say something to him like, say, hey, dude, this is not who you are, man. Take it easy. They say, all right, make a charisma check.
Yeah. So speaking
going
on, whenever you're speaking with them and talking to them, there are personalities, trait, past, future, regret, fury, yearning.
They give you things to respond with, which I love.
And they go the next step, whereas it's not just talking, but there's a game aspect to it. There's a high check of 21 insight or wisdom check for his answers. And when he replies, if you fail this, you kind of sympathize with him, but he's still being pitiable, arguably.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to me. But yeah, then if you let him out.
Yeah, if you let him out. Yeah, let's talk about that. So you say, yeah, you are free to go, dude.
The fucking apocalypse is going on, man. This eldritch being affected by some alien moon that has been festering in this place forever goes out and starts destroying shit, and the game is like, you can keep going if you want. The players are going to need some help, and they can even go to the evil gods.
Players are going to need some help
if you want, to the evil gods, and try to say, hey, this guy's kind of going fucking crazy. And like, you know what? Sure. So that's kind of the extra ending, if you want.
Which I think it'd be kind of fun because it's for the next year and a day that the moon remains the same. And then during this time, Elixir can appear anywhere. And so you could encounter him, you could be doing different stuff. And it could be kind of fun, like, we caused this. Now we're definitely engaged. We got something to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the likely option. I doubt many people are just say, yeah, dude, you can go. A, because of how he looks, but B, just because of the way he acts.
Yeah. Okay.
So the fight itself.
I mean, layer actions are kind of first here, and this is your shit, so. Yeah,
the layer actions go hard. There's a different grasp. I like the different ways that this interacts with the players.
Yes.
That there's different, like there's even like a prayer here that they can do. The different temples, they just pull out of them and attack the players. It's a lot to take in as a DM, but there's so many, like what I like about the stat block, because it's in 3 different stages, which I might steal for other stuff, is because it's in 3 different stages, it's not super complex, the stat block itself. Because if you look at like big scare, I mean, look at like the Tiamat stat block, there's a lot happening there. This has, the first stat block has 2 different actions and has a multi-attack to do 2 attacks. Has 2 different legendary actions, and that's it. 3 features, but those are just standard kind of big boss features, and that's it.
So cool.
That's it. Yeah, it's scary artwork.
It's scary.
But then the next phase happens, and it's also different.
I do want to say the format we're looking at it at is really wide.
Yes.
So if you shrunk it down a little bit, it would look kind of similar to the Tiamat's. Like his legendary actions,
not as many actions.
It's true.
Like, now I'm curious. I'm gonna pull up the Tiamat.
It's not as much. Like the Tiamat shit and the Elder Dragon stuff is kind of fucking crazy.
Because the CR of this guy is 11.
Yes,
that's the first stage. Yeah, so if you take all 3 of them, if I had to say a CR for this guy, would probably not. I mean, it's definitely not as intense as Tiamat.
I think wasn't the Aboleth 11?
I think so.
There's a couple monsters that are the same CR as him. Right before this.
What's the end? Rime of the Frostmaiden final boss?
I think they're farther, aren't they? It's gonna be similar.
Because I can't look up Tiamat because that's a much higher
rejuvenation. So every one of these phases, except obviously even the last one does. Whenever they die, they go to the next section, like his next one from currently Elixir and the Tormented is Elixir and the Callous. Divinely Blessed, Can't Be Surprised, which I don't know how you would be trying to, you're literally talking to him already.
Yeah.
Legendary Resistance, only 2 per day.
Yes, but that's for that first phase.
Yeah, and then so he's got 6, technically. Some Grasps, Void Eyes, AoE. That's pretty much it. I mean, he's got the Weapons of Your stuff, which is like shitting out the weapons that are on his back.
Yes, a lot of shitting.
A lot of shitting. He's
really
cool.
And then you get the comforting. So you got to have a lot of conversation stuff. You got to have him responding, yelling at them, and then have the players feel so inclined to engage.
If you had this guy telling you, hey, I want to get out of here. You going to let me out? Can I go with my meat hoodie?
Because this is his anger stage? Yeah, this is his tormented. So
this is his tormented stage.
He's pissed off.
He's been sitting in this for ages.
Yeah, he's yelling stuff like, how can I forgive them for the suffering?
No one understands the pain of spending years beyond counting in darkness.
No one remembers.
Nor cares.
Even you will be forgotten.
Yeah. So anybody that's trying to speak to him is going to get lines like that are shitting back out. But if you manage to reduce him to 0 hit points, it goes to the Callous.
So I'd love to, if you do a successful check to help persuade him or comfort him, he loses 20 HP for that. So, you
use Talk no Jutsu from Naruto.
You talk him to death.
I forgot about that. I wanted to mention that. Thank you.
It's super cool. So I like it, but
it's
like
very
you said,
anime.
It is very anime. But like you said, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but the players might not realize that.
Yeah.
I think that's
you will have to tell them that they can go to these shrines and pray.
Yes,
to disable layer action. Yeah, for sure. And then once you defeat him, he becomes God.
Yeah, look at that guy.
I was so surprised. He turns into visually the exact opposite of what he just was.
Sounds like Pit.
He's not as cool as Pit. So the theme here is the previous form was his regret. Him talking about his torment, saying, "I'm so pitiful. I can't believe. Oh, woe is me." This one is, I'm kind of the shit.
Look how sick I am, dude.
These people, how dare they put me down?
6-pack, bro.
Yeah. So it's really nice. It's the opposite of what he was going through, and it does reflect like mental health as well. So
it does, and I love that even if you are persuading him, and the DC does go up after each phase. If you're persuading him, the bit of dialogue that he can respond with is, "You do have a way with words, puny one." Even his responses to you helping him is like still putting you down in this way. I love it.
Yeah, so they do really well there. In terms of like crazy abilities, he gets some more stuff, some holy damage that he can just like snap at you and shit like that. Chains that can bind you down, which are really cool and restrain you.
He gets one more. So the actions change, but he has 3 actions and 3 legendary actions.
It's really cool. I mean, there's nothing else that I wanted to mention here. He does get like 7 more HP, which is laughs funny to me. And once you defeat him here again, he
gets sad.
Becomes how he should be.
Yes, dispossessed.
If he were still living to this day and he never got locked down here but still forgotten, this is what he would be in my mind. Like his AC is lower than it was. His HP is lower than it was.
I feel like his speed should go down.
Yeah,
look at him. Look at his old ass.
He's old. It says that he's got graying hair, but he is not. So
to be fair, his speed. So his speed in the first form is 40, and then its speed in the second form is 30, but it can fly 90. And then so technically, I guess it does go lower. That he can only do 30 feet of movement.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a
Bloodborne boss or like a Dark Souls boss. He's parrying left and right. He's stabbing a dagger that if it stays in you, you get petrified, and he can snap it back to his hand.
Well, it's so cool because he goes from using all these powerful like abilities around him, and then here it's just him being a badass.
Yeah,
this is the form that allowed him to defeat Grumsh, like deflect Grumsh back in the day. So cool.
So what's his emotional state like at this point?
Here he's just tired of it all.
Yeah, the world has moved beyond me. He's like ready to die.
Yeah, he's in the sad state.
Yeah, I could envision the fight and how it would be in my mind. And I really like, though he can turn you to stone with his dagger, if he finds somebody else to be an even bigger threat, he can snap the dagger back to his hand, which frees the person.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool dance that puts the power in those that are fighting in it. So that's why I really liked it.
It's very cool.
Also, you probably don't have a lot of health at this point. So this is a hard fight.
And
this whole thing.
Well, this is where you turn him into Elixion the Absolved, if you're able to get 3 successful checks in this form, I believe.
Yes.
I feel like it might be easier if you change it to X amount of checks
altogether.
overall.
I think that would be better.
So you get maybe 1 or 2 in the other forms, and you have to get a couple more here. And boom.
And the redeemed is what it is, I think. Absolved and redeemed. Yeah, so it's the title is there. Basically turns him into the same form that we just see now, but a little more healthy looking and like a smile on his face. I don't know. I love the fight.
Love the fight.
It makes me stressed out for what Ryan's going to do at the end of our campaign.
Inspired.
We're going to fucking die, dude. We're going to die.
Last time, man. Look at you.
They almost died. I was almost dead too, but my fucking Hexblade abilities, that healing adds up, man. I think it's, I mean, we already talked about the endings, so to speak, but they have labeled them neutral ending, best ending, and worst ending. A la video games.
The most likely, I would say, would probably be the neutral.
Yeah.
And that's an okay ending.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Totally fine. The worst ending, if you didn't release him at the beginning, is only likely to happen if all of you die.
Yeah, which...
Or you just say, you know what, you're not absolved. You go ahead and get out of here.
You know what, we fought you for a little bit.
We're fine. We're done.
You're good. But the good ending.
I found it satisfying.
I agree.
Really satisfying.
I mean, it feels earned.
It does. And I love the idea that he could have left this whole time. But while you're playing this campaign for however long you're in it, you've learned from him speaking to you that he's been trapped here under this spear, theoretically. And it's like, wait a minute. You just want us to come in here, pat you on the back, and say, you're fine, get out of here. Which it's not as trivial as that was. You went through a lot of shit to help him out, but...
You got to escape from the Netherdeep, which, if he's with you, makes it a lot easier. Or if he's with you, happy.
Yes.
Makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, the world's
destroyed. If you absolve him, he will give you water breathing. You guys get out.
Water breathing, fights by your side.
You're doing Metroid right now. The world's destroyed. You got to get the fuck out of there.
I almost wish... I feel like it'd be a better ending just to, like... He gets you out of there. Everyone's happy. But I like escaping if we don't help him. Yeah. And a common trend at the end of every chapter is what's going on. What of factions? What of the deities? What of the rivals? It gives you a lot of stuff. For every rival, state, friendly, hostile, and indifferent. And Elixion killed, unleashed, redeemed. So I think it's 9 permutations. Yeah. Yeah. 3 for each. So friendly rivals, killed, unleashed, redeemed, indifferent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it tells you that like your players, as they're leaving, depending on like what class they are, what they do. I hate that doesn't mention Warlock specifically, just spellcasters. Okay, fine. But all of the gods that gave him powers, they will come and see you. Say if you're somebody who's artistic, clever, or spellcaster, Corellian the Art Heart will come and talk to you and offer direct support. And just it's not just, hey, everything's done. Let's cool down. It's after the climax. There's still stuff that we're giving you after credits, post game. It's really fun. I like what happens if the rivals die in the Netherdeep. It's if the rivals died in the Netherdeep, the characters are haunted by dreams of them for a few weeks. For a few weeks. In these dreams, they might see Maggie's solemn, steady gaze as she speaks, but not be able to hear what she is trying to tell them. They might see Ao erupting in an outburst of anger. Yada, yada. Eventually, the dreams subside, but on their final night, Ao steps up to each character in turn and offers a salute. We didn't do too badly, huh? Remember us. Maybe with a monument back in Jigao. That would be nice. Damn. They just wanted to be adventurers. This is my favorite campaign that I've read. I think we're good. Oh, it's about to die. Yeah, this is our longest episode. It's about to die. So I like how it ends. And I think that'd be a cool ending. So that's it. I'm worried about it dying on me. Yeah, we're good. I severely enjoyed it. I haven't read a ton of campaigns. He's run one. For me, as a player's perspective, like my final recommendation to you DMs, if you're still here, or players, is I would want to be in this campaign. Yes. I was sad reading it. But the likelihood of me being in a campaign where somebody's actually running is not very high because he does homebrew and my other DMs do. I could steal some stuff. We'll steal stuff, but I won't realize because I'm a fucking idiot. But then if I do like stuff for the Chronicles, you'll have Ken next. You going, Oh yeah, he does do that. It's very funny. Okay, that's my thought. That's it. I recommend it. Definitely check it out. If you stayed this long, then you probably definitely interested. All right. He's Braxton. I'm Braxton. You're Ryan. Yeah, we haven't done that order in a while. Social media, the
At Dungeon Crawl Pod on Twitter and Instagram. We've been more active. Kobold Press has commented and replied to us. Check it out.
Yeah, typing.
Email thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. We also have a Discord where we run a lot of games, hang out, and talk about lots of tabletop RPGs. There's been a lot of you that are jumping in lately talking about their homebrew shit. So if you want to share your stuff, get in there.
Oh, there it is.
Videos died. Love you guys. Thanks for crawling with us. I don't know if it turned back on.
Oh, there it is. It's dead.
There it goes.
You'll still be able to hear us.
Yeah.
Though I apologize.
Patreon.
I'm surprised it died.
Love you. Now you got to put Patreon over us doing nothing.
True.
Thank you.
Patreon scrolling across the screen. Everything.
Give us 5 stars on iTunes.
No, I had a thing
Apple
for that.
Podcasts.
Now that's too late for me to do the thing.
Oh shit.
No, I was last night. I was putting a bunch of obsidian blocks together, and I dived in, and turns out I was in the Nether, not the Netherdeep.
Can't see me.
But while I was there, I saw a ghast, and they rated us 5 stars.
They squeak at you.
Podcast. Yeah, I hate those noises.
That is terrible.
It's a Minecraft joke for you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for crawling with us. Don't know what we're doing next time. It's gonna be a banger.
I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be definitely. I keep looking at the camera.
I'm looking
the camera's not there anymore.
It's not there. I'm curious how long. Oh, my lamp
recording.
was covering the Audacity thing. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Take care. Buy this book. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.